Kill me! I'm here! Kill me!
Hey everybody, this is Matthew Movies coming at you with my top 10 list of the 2016 released movies that I've seen so far. Now, before I get to my top 10 list, I do want to point out the fact that there are movies that aren't on this list that I know a lot of people love that I have not seen as of yet. So you have movies like La La Land, Hell or High Water, Kubo and the Two Strings, Sing Street, and more that I am definitely interested in seeing, and I know have very devoted fan bases, but I just haven't seen them yet, so they were not in contention. And I also want to state that this is my personal opinion, so there are definitely movies that I know some people loved that you won't find on this list. Like, you won't find Batman v Superman or Suicide Squad on this list, neither of which I felt like were worthy. But if you love those movies, that's awesome. I don't understand why people want to try to convince others to not like movies that they do, and that's not what I'm trying to do here. I am more trying to highlight the movies that I loved this year. So without any further ado, let's get to the list. Now, first off, the number one movie on my list is a movie that I feel like a lot of people have no idea existed, and I think it's a big shame. It's a documentary. Now, I'm a huge documentary fan. There are movies in my top 10 that are documentaries. Top 10 movies of all time that are in my that are documentaries because I absolutely love them. I love the storytelling potential of a good documentary, and this definitely falls into it. And it's called Weiner. And what this documentary is it's focused on Anthony Weiner, the disgraced former politician who actually, after this movie was out, became even more disgraced after he was involved in the reopening of Hillary Clinton's emails controversy that happened just before the election because his now ex-wife or separated or what have you, in the process of becoming ex-wife, was her one of her main contributors to her campaign, like her strategists. And so this guy is the person who he seemed to have the world by the horns. Like he was advancing. He's a New York politician. He was advancing. He looked like he could someday even maybe possibly be in contention to become like a presidential hopeful because he really has a real fighting spirit in him, and he seemed to actually be sincerely very passionate about the things he fought for. And he seemed to be like the type of politician that could cut through all the BS. However, he has one major flaw, and he seems to have no ability to temper it, and that is that he feels the need to send photos of himself in compromising situations to random women on the internet. And as a result, again and again, these controversies have come up, and that had already taken place by the time this documentary starts filming. And what happens is he is trying to run for the election of the mayoral election in New York, and he looks like he's got some real potential, and then the S hits the fan yet again. And it's just such an amazing documentary because you get to see this guy who is trying to fight back from the brink of disaster, and he seems to really be beginning somewhere, and then everything implodes once again, and the entire time you're watching, you're like, whoa, he's such an unstoppable moron. But he's also you have to respect his pit bull mentality when it comes to trying to get back out there, and he's just it feels like an immovable object and like unbreakable force. Like it's painful to watch at points. Coming up next at number 9 is Everybody Wants Some, the latest Richard Linklater movie, the director of movies like the Before trilogy, like Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, Before Midnight, all movies that I really enjoyed, and Dazed and Confused, and Boyhood, which I'm not a fan of. But I love Dazed and Confused, and I love this movie. And if you liked Dazed and Confused, watch this movie because it's more of the same, but it doesn't feel like a retread. It's like a graduation of sorts. Like that movie was all about these people at the end of their high school career or the beginning of their high school career. This is people at the beginning of their college career, and it's focused on baseball team. So you get like a good group of guys that you're focused on. But at the same time, there's a romance at the center of it that I really bought into. That actually has Leah Thompson's daughter. I think you pronounce it Zoe Dutch, and she is great in this movie. She exhibits all of the charm of her mother that her mother ever showed in movies like Back to the Future, of course, and Caroline in the City, that show, and all that kind of stuff. She seems to have inherited all the charm of her mother, and she really, honestly, to me, she was the absolute highlight of the entire movie. And she's not in it that much, but she was great. But even all the other stuff, like all the camaraderie that you see, and like the competition and some of the revelations and stuff, like this was just a very, very well done movie. Next up is coming at number 8 is Doctor Strange. Now, I am a big Marvel Comics guy, and I love Marvel movies, and it's surprising to me that Doctor Strange is only at number 8. I would have thought that it would have been higher, but I think the movie was very well done, and I liked it a lot. But the problem with it is it's kind of hard to not focus on some of the kind of misses. And all the misses to me pretty much were from a comedic standpoint. Like they hamstring in some jokes that I think did not land whatsoever, and kind of screwed up the pace of the movie a little bit. However, I liked it a lot. I loved it, really, to get to my number 8 movie of the year, which also is a testament to how great the movies were this year, because I do think this movie was very well done. I thought the end fight was very, very creative and unlike anything we'd ever seen before, and just brilliant, and I loved it. And I thought the characters were very well drawn, and Benedict Cumberbatch is the man. I like that guy quite a bit. Next up is number 7 is the movie Hush. It's a Netflix horror film, and a lot of people talked about Don't Breathe this year, and I thought Don't Breathe was awesome, and it just barely missed my list, but I liked Hush a lot more. And it's kind of the opposite of Don't Breathe, where Don't Breathe, you have these people who are breaking into a home of a guy who can't see, and this is one person breaking into a house, and he can see and talk and do the whole 9, but the person who lives there is deaf and is dumb, so can't speak. And it is so well done. Like, I love how you can witness her internal monologue and how she's reasoning things out, and then you spend the entire movie really being there with her. And when you see that trope where people are like, don't go in there, girl, come on now, and it feels like that, but the difference is it feels really earned, because it's not like in a lot of movies you have somebody going, they hear a noise in the basement or whatever, and they go down into the basement, right? And it's whatever, people would potentially do that, but in other situations they're doing things that are they're being chased, and they're going up into a spot where there's going to be no escape, they're going up into the attic where there's going to be no escape, but they're not putting anything to stop people from getting up in the attic, and it's not earned. It's just kind of a jump scare kind of thing. In this case, all of her decisions are so well reasoned and so well thought out, and you're still because the difference is from her perspective they make perfect sense, but you have that little bit of more information. She doesn't necessarily realize that when she's walking outside that she's making sound when she's stepping on all the leaves, kind of deal. And I thought it was just such a brilliant idea to set up the movie. I absolutely loved it. And again, this could have been easily in my top 2 or 3 if this year was a little bit weaker. Coming in at number 6 is Deadpool. I mentioned before, I love the Marvel comic movies, and this is only the second Marvel movie on my list, and I thought Deadpool was brilliant. It completely redeemed the character from the atrocious handling that Fox gave it with X-Men Origins Wolverine, where they completely obviously didn't understand what made the character so cool, except for at the very beginning. This movie, from the moment the opening credits came up, and I was like, okay, the people who made this movie understood the character. It's a hilarious, uproarious stand-up of everything in comic book movies, but it's a loving one. It's making fun of all the tropes. You have a whole scene that's all about the superhero landing, but it's not just making fun of it. It's it's with a wink and a nod. We love this, but isn't that kind of ridiculous? But and then eventually the character out there, you see superhero landing, and it's awesome when it happens. It's yeah, we got our superhero landing. It's that kind of spirit where it's a send up but a loving one, and to me it was just pitch perfect, and the acting in it was phenomenal. Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool was just perfect, and Morena Baccarin, I don't think got enough credit for how charming, and not charming, but how lovable she was, despite being such a very, very messed up character. And I thought she pulled that off exceptionally well, and I love that aspect of this movie. Coming in at number 5, and this is a testament to how much I liked the other movies on this list, is Hacksaw Ridge. I would definitely have expected Hacksaw Ridge to be higher. Like originally when I was thinking about this list, I was thinking it would be like at number 3, but it isn't. It's only at number 5 because there are 4 movies I like better, not because I didn't love this movie. I will say this, the only flaw in the movie is I did feel like people were chewing the scenery a little bit. There is definitely some overacting involved, unfortunately. But other than that, I thought this was an exceptionally well-made movie that really got a lot of things right. There was definitely there's a lot of religion in this movie, but it never felt preachy. There's definitely some moments in this movie that felt maybe like it was a little bit manipulative, but it never felt like it was like talking down to you, or it wasn't like all of a sudden you had like you could hear the string quartet coming in to try to make you feel these emotions. It was only because like these kind of situations are so emotional that to not have them come off that way would be a disservice. And like I said before, battle scenes are just mind-bogglingly good. I really like that movie a lot. Coming in at number 4 is The Nice Guys. I loved The Nice Guys. I thought it was hysterical. Ryan Gosling is like, to me, it's the performance of his career, and I've always liked Ryan Gosling. Like, there's lots of Ryan Gosling movies I love. I love Lars and the Real Girl. There's a lot. I could keep going on and on about how great Ryan Gosling is, but to me, this was the performance of his career. He was so funny in it, and like it was so like this movie to me was just pitch perfect. Like there was nothing I would change about it, and like the chemistry that Ryan Gosling had with Russell Crowe, which is definitely a guy that you don't necessarily associate with like being funny, and he was hysterical in this, and the writing was great. Shane Black's directing was great. Like I hated Iron Man 3 to a large degree. I think that movie is really quite poor, and it's a Shane Black movie, and I was sad because it's a combination of a character I love and a director I love, and to me it sucks. And that's just thinking about that movie, then thinking about this. Please, Shane Black, don't go trying to make those kinds of movies. Like you can get involved in franchises if you want, but they have to be franchises that fit your sensibility, because man, when he makes his own stories, he just hits it out of the park. And the unsung hero of this movie, like lots were made of Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe. I don't know the actress's name, but the Ryan Gosling has a daughter in this movie, and she is amazing. Like she was so great. I loved it. Okay, then coming in at number 3 is going to be Arrival. I thought this movie was absolutely brilliant. It was shot so well, like, and like in a very unique manner. Like this movie doesn't come off as flashy in any regard. Like I do know some people didn't like this movie, but that's because, in my opinion, they were going in expecting like an action movie, like a normal alien invasion movie, and this was the exact opposite of that. Like you don't have any of the like flashy shots, you don't have any of the action, you don't have any of that stuff. What you have instead is a movie that is just made perfectly to service one specific story, and it's done exceptionally well. And there are definitely moments where it drags a tiny bit, and I wouldn't even say it drags, but it feels slow, and there's definitely a feeling that you might get partway through this movie where you're thinking to yourself, this better amount to something. But when that ending comes and you get the emotion, like there's an emotional reveal that I don't know how anybody could not feel like that this movie was played off to perfection. And it's just such a I'll tell you this, it got a little misty when I watched this movie because I thought that ending was so impactful and so brilliant. All right, now coming in at number 2 is Captain America: Civil War, the last of my comic movies of the year. I absolutely love this movie. I mean, it was so well done. I thought it was amazing that they were able to introduce Black Panther and Spider-Man both in this movie, and did them both so much justice. This is by far the best Spider-Man I've ever seen, and I really like the first 2 Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. The other 3, the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2 and Spider-Man 3, are not my cup of tea. But I couldn't believe how great they did at introducing Spider-Man. Like, I mean, the kid who played him was great. He was the first actor I've seen on film that I thought was a great Spider-Man and a great Peter Parker. Because I thought Tobey Maguire was a great Peter Parker, but a kind of meh Spider-Man. Like, I never really, like, when he was making all the quips and the jokes, I never thought he pulled it off. And I thought Andrew Garfield was the opposite. I thought he was a pretty solid Spider-Man because he was able to pull off some of the jokes, but he was far too like trying to be cool when he was Peter Parker, and so I didn't like that element whatsoever. This is the first time they got an actor who could do both. And then the Chadwick Boseman, the guy who played Black Panther, I thought was just so good. Like, he had such a kingly feel, like a majestic feel, but he also had like such a quiet rage, and like there was a real forebodingness that you got from him. Like, and he's a hero, obviously. Like, Black Panther is a hero, and he has great intentions in this movie. But as a person watching this movie, you know that he shouldn't be going after the person he is going off after, and you don't want that person to feel his wrath. So as a result, he gives you this feeling of like, oh man, because you really feel like he could do some sincere damage. And I thought it was, and then it was great. I loved his moments, his more quiet moments with like Black Widow, I thought were great. And then his last scene in the movie, his two last scenes, both with the villain of the film and then with Captain America and Bucky, were great. Like, his last line, the "Let them come," essentially, was so awesome. And then like Cap was done great. Iron Man was done great. Ant-Man had some great stuff in there. And like probably my favorite element of the entire movie. I mean, obviously the airport fight was amazing, and the reason why I think that scene worked so well was because you had the two opposing sides. And the thing that I loved about the movie more than anything else was when you looked at both sides, there were very clear character reasons why everybody was on both sides. Like, you completely understand, like, Iron Man is the industrial side, the pragmatic kind of character, whereas Captain America is more the idealistic kind of person. That he's going to go for the ideal, not necessarily what needs to be done in that particular moment, but he's gonna get down and dirty and fight for it. You have like, I could go down the line, and it makes perfect sense for everybody to have been on the side that they're on, and I thought that was phenomenal. And that was like, from that moment on, I was in. And then I mean, the emotional climax is just that, very emotional. And then finally, my number one movie of the year was Rogue One. I said it in my review of the movie. I loved Rogue One. I thought it was phenomenal. It just I just loved everything about it. I know there's some people who felt like the first half of the movie dragged. I never felt that way. The entire time I was watching it, I was like, ha, I'm in Star Wars. Like, I never felt like it was boring. I loved a lot of the characters. Like, I loved Saul Guerrero. I thought he was probably might have been my favorite character. I loved Galen Erso, and his whole story arc was so emotional for me as a father. But I bought into that whole thing, hook, line, and sinker, and maybe that has a lot to do with why I didn't feel. Actually, I'm not going to say maybe. That has a lot to do with why the first half of the movie did not drag for me at all. K2SO was great and hilarious in lots of scenes. I thought Jin was really good. I thought. I don't know how to pronounce his name yet, but the character played by Donnie Yen, the blind monk character, I thought he was awesome. His buddy was great. Like, across the board, I liked Director Krennic I think is such a great addition to the movie as kind of like the middle management evil guy. I thought that was really cool. I just loved this movie through and through. And there's some scenes there's a scene where you see a character that we know and love in a way that I've never seen him like that before, and it's just super badass. So I loved Rogue One. So that's my list of the top 10 movies of 2016 that I've seen so far. Please let me know what you thought in the comments below. Hit that like button. It does huge things for my channel. It's the more they see that people are interacting with the video, the better it is for the channel. Please, like I said, comment below. And if you're new to the channel, hit subscribe. I love talking movies with people, and I'd love to talk movies with you. Other than that, have yourself a nice day.